The village of Rio del Vad nestled deep in the shadows of the pine-laden hills. Snow blanketed its rooftops in winter, and the frosty air carried whispers of old superstitions. For decades, the villagers had feared the one who lived at the edge of the woods, Joe, a young man who stayed apart from society. Some whispered he was a vampire. Others murmured of unproven murders. Children ran past his house in daylight, daring each other to knock on his door. None did. Joe rarely ventured into town except for necessities, and even then his silence and striking appearance, pale skin, black hair, piercing blue eyes, fueled the rumors. He didn't care. Joe found peace in solitude, in the company of the forest and its creatures. He wasn't the monster they believed him to be, but convincing them otherwise wasn't worth the effort. On the morning of December 14th, Anna tightened her scarf against the cold as she set out from her small cottage. Her 5-year-old son, Thomas, peeked from behind the curtains, waving excitedly. She waved back before stepping onto the snow-laden path leading into the forest. Life hadn't been easy since her husband's untimely death 2 years ago. Christmas was Thomas's favorite time of year, and though money was tight, Anna was determined to make it special. A real tree, she decided, would brighten their modest home. She gripped the rusty axe her late husband had once used, her breath fogging in the crisp air. Anna was a force to be reckoned with. Life has thrown her its harshest challenges, but she had met each one with resilience that borders on ferocity. At 29, she carried herself with a quiet strength that commanded respect. Her sharp green eyes were alive with determination, framed by dark lashes that belied the exhaustion she rarely let show. A cascade of chestnut-brown hair, often hastily tied back, escaped in wild wisps around her face, giving her a raw, untamed beauty. Her cheeks were lightly freckled, remnants of a youth spent in the sun. Anna wandered deeper into the woods, searching for the perfect tree. The towering pines were magnificent but too large. Then she spotted it, a petite evergreen standing proudly amid its larger kin. She raised her axe, ready to fell it, when a rustling in the underbrush made her freeze. Turning slowly, she spotted the source of the noise, a wild boar sow, her 7 piglets trailing behind her. The sow's sharp tusks glinted in the weak sunlight, and her eyes locked on Anna. Boars were unpredictable and fiercely protective of their young. Anna backed away slowly, her heart racing. The sow grunted, stepping closer. Anna turned and fled, plunging deeper into the woods. She didn't stop until the sounds of the boar and her brood faded into silence. Breathing heavily, she realized she had lost her bearings. The tall pines stretched endlessly in all directions. Her footsteps, half covered by new fallen snow, betrayed no clear path back. Panic prickled her chest. The sun sank below the horizon, and a heavy darkness enveloped the forest. Anna's fingers and toes turned with cold, her energy waning as she stumbled over uneven ground. Then she tripped over the thick root of an old tree, falling hard. Her head struck a rock, and her world went black. When Anna awoke, she was lying on a rough-hewn cot in a dimly lit room. Her head throbbed, and the scent of pine and wood smoke filled the air. Blinking, she turned her head to see a man sitting in a chair by the fire. He was tall and lean, his dark hair disheveled. His pale face caught the firelight, and his blue eyes met hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. "You're awake," he said quietly, rising to approach her. "You hit your head. I found you in the woods." Anna tried to sit up but winced. "My head." Joe placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, his touch surprisingly warm. "You need to rest. I've bandaged it, but you'll be dizzy for a while." "Who are you?" she asked, though something in her memory stirred, a fleeting glance of his face from the village square. "Joe," he said simply. Realization dawned, and fear twisted her gut. "You're the one everyone's afraid of?" He smiled faintly, but there was no humor in it. "Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you. I live alone, but I'm not the monster they say I am." Anna said nothing, unsure whether to believe him, yet there was no malice in his eyes, only weariness. Joe's care was meticulous. He brought her a bowl of warm broth and sat nearby as she ate. They spoke little at first, but Anna couldn't ignore the kindness in his actions. When she tried to thank him, he dismissed it. "I couldn't leave you out there. The cold would have killed you." As dawn approached, Joe offered to escort her home. Though her head still ached, Anna was determined to return to Thomas. She followed Joe through the snow-covered forest, his steady presence reassuring. The path he took was unfamiliar to her, but he seemed to know it well. They arrived at her cottage just as Thomas ran out to greet her, his face lighting up with joy. "Mama, you're back!" Anna hugged her son tightly, tears of relief streaming down her face. Joe stood at a respectful distance, watching silently. "Thank you," Anna said softly, her gratitude genuine. Joe nodded, his expression unreadable, before turning to leave. Days passed, but Anna couldn't shake thoughts of Joe. Despite the rumors, she had seen a side of him that didn't fit the village's fearful tales. When she spotted him in the woods a week later, gathering firewood, she mustered the courage to approach him. "Joe!" she called. He looked up, surprised but not unkind. "Anna, I wanted to thank you again," she said, "and to ask, would you like to come by for Christmas dinner? It's just me and my son, but we'd love to have you." Joe hesitated, his guarded expression softening at her earnestness. "I don't know if that's a good idea." "I think it is," she said firmly. "You deserve to be around people who see you for who you are, not who they think you are." Joe studied her for a moment before nodding. "All right, I'll come." Christmas Day dawned bright and clear. Joe arrived at Anna's cottage with a simple gift for Thomas, a carved wooden figurine of a deer. Thomas was delighted, and Anna beamed, grateful for the effort Joe had made. Over dinner, laughter filled the small home as stories and smiles were shared. Joe was reserved but warm, and Anna found herself drawn to the quiet strength in his demeanor. The fear she once felt was replaced by admiration, and perhaps something more. As the evening ended, Joe prepared to leave, but Anna stopped him at the door. "Joe, thank you for being here, for everything." He met her gaze, and for the first time a genuine smile crossed his face. "Thank you, Anna, for seeing me." In the months that followed, Anna and Joe grew closer. The villagers noticed their companionship and whispered, but Anna no longer cared. Slowly, the man once shunned as a monster began to reveal his true nature, a kind, lonely soul who had finally found a place where he belonged. In the snowy heart of Rio del Vad, amidst whispers and superstitions, two lives intertwined to forge a bond that dispelled fear and warmed the coldest of winters.